the funniest joke I ever heard. These two ball players went duck hunting. They were out in the marshes for over an hour. They didn't get anything, didn't shoot anything. Finally, one says to the other, I wonder why we haven't got any ducks. The other one says, maybe we're not throwing the dog up high enough.
Don't worry, nobody's listening anyway.
Good evening. Welcome to the Steelers Sanctuary Podcast. I'm Leanne Lohman, and I'm thrilled to be joined tonight by David Korb, Zach Franciscus, Bob Quinn, and Dave Ribeiro. Guys, it is Monday. No, it is Thursday. I don't know what it is anymore. With no football, I'm so out of it. It's Thursday. You've had almost a week to recover from the devastating loss again in the first round of the playoffs to the Baltimore Ravens. How are you guys feeling now that you've kind of had a few days to process?
I was doing better. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Zach.
I'm emotionally moved on. I mourned and I realized that if I stayed in that state, I was number one, my therapist was going to get really angry with me. But number two, I had to make sure that my focus was 2025. So that's my focus. I have fully shifted.
I was starting to get over it until I watched Hard Knocks this morning. That took me right back into the
I purposely
into the depths.
Why?
If you're expecting hard-hitting Hard Knocks chat today, Dave is going to provide it.
Yeah, Dave got it all.
Am I the only one that watched it, unfortunately?
No, I watched it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm a glutton for punishment.
Yeah, it's like watching a car wreck.
I want to say I feel better or I'm moved on, but the problem is that the week after a game like this is when you start to get all the intel on what went down, and it just, for us, we're not getting any good intel, so it just takes me back to fucking last Saturday, and I just get pissed off again.
Yeah.
So I mean, when you hear all the stuff you're hearing, and you're just like, what the hell were they doing? And then it's 5 days later, no one's been fired yet.
No one's getting fired.
Like,
no one's getting fired.
How do you, that clusterfuck on Saturday that happened, how is nobody fired 5 days later? I just, unreal.
I'm not sure what they're waiting for. If there's a scapegoat, to be sacrificed, I'm not sure what they're waiting for.
Right.
The only thing I'm hoping for is that there was a scapegoat in the head coach's mind, and somehow the GM and is fighting on it. You know it ain't hard, but hopefully Omar is fighting him on it and saying no. It's not Terrell Austin running the defense. Ain't Terrell Austin's fault.
Yeah,
it's not. Nobody in the entire United States thinks he's in charge of the defense.
Right.
Yeah, we're not going to see anything. What would have happened already? And I told you guys in the last pod, we're going to go into next year the same group as this year. It's sad, but it's going to happen.
Yeah, like Zach, I've turned my attention towards 2025. I'm not going to look back anymore. I'm done with college football. Thank you very much, Penn State. I'm done with Steelers. I don't even give a shit about the NFL anymore, which is a lie. I'll watch it, but I'm trying to pretend I don't care. Vaughn said he wanted to see some tables flipped, and I think he thinks he's on a Buffalo Bills podcast. So he might be in the wrong division. And Relic said he has yet to watch Hard Knocks. How bad is it? Dude, it's great for the first 3 or 4 episodes, and then it's exactly like our season. So imagine living the season again, and you're so happy and you feel so good, and then everything goes straight to shit. That's exactly it.
It's not anything bad on the last one. It's just a slow motion review of that whole week and the game.
Yeah,
and it's just brutal. Nothing. Dave, did you see anything earth shattering? I didn't see anything.
I thought it was really cool that Harbaugh brought up Chuck Noll in the conference.
That's a good point. I wanted to bring that up.
Brought up Chuck Noll and all his famous quotes to his Raven players.
Yeah, how about that?
Like, I was like, wow, like this is
surprising.
This is something I didn't see coming. But yeah, he brought up Chuck Noll, put a picture of him with the 4 Super Bowl trophies, the Lombardis, for them to all see, and just started talking about him and like all his famous
is the
quotes.
Standard, though, if that's what you're looking for.
That's what the standard used to be. But anyway, and it was just really interesting to see a coach from the opposite team do something like that.
Meanwhile,
especially from a rival.
Yep, and it was almost like he was giving them a history lesson. Like he brought up the whole look, we hate the Steelers, but what were we originally? We originally were the Browns. We were sold to here now, but before that, before our history, I want you to know the history before us. And he acted like it was like we need to know our opponent's history, and he went back and did that with them, and I thought that was really cool for him to do.
Do you remember the quotes, Dave? Because they were good, and I can't remember them off the top of my head.
One was about a tackle weighing 260.
Yeah, I wish I had more tackles.
There was one about if I have to motivate you, you're fired, or something like that.
If I have to motivate you, I'll cut you.
I was gonna say, Bob, you have to remember some of these quotes.
Yeah.
But there was 4 of them. But I mean, he cited a bunch. I was just like, wow, this is different, man. Like I've never seen a coach do this with the opposing team's history.
Meanwhile, Tomlin's showing highlights of the last time they beat Baltimore to his team, trying to give him a little pep talk, and it's like
if you remember, he said that he read somewhere that this generation is more visual, and he thought that he would try something different as well. I give him credit. He tried to come up with something different to show these guys good things they did visually by showing them videos of them making plays to see if that would try to motivate them and get them out of their funk. Basically get the stench of the 4-game losing streak off of them.
Didn't work.
And it didn't work.
At least you tried, I guess. A for effort or something in that regard.
I mean, I mean, at this point too. I mean, what do we expect at this point? I mean, for Harbaugh to pull out the Steelers' history versus, I mean, it's all. I mean, I'm going to get wound up if I start talking about it, but I mean, it's beyond irritating. Why aren't we showing that in a Steelers meeting? Of, hey, this is what we used to be. Why isn't Rod Woodson there talking to the team? Why isn't Hines Ward in there talking to the team? Hey, I know you guys suck for the last month, but have some pride. Let's get it going.
I personally think that Steelers players hear a lot about what used to be and what that team used to be. I think it's probably rammed down their throats more than it is on any other team. I mean, Cam Hayward addressed it specifically on his podcast that, they know how they played isn't acceptable, especially in light of the fact of, the heritage they're representing. Do you know what I mean? And so I don't know. I think the players know that. I don't know if that's the pep talk that would motivate them. Maybe there's, bigger.
Well, the other one sure didn't work.
I'll tell you this. I don't think any of it matters. If your game plan sucks,
right? I was going to say that.
I don't care if you bring George Washington in there to talk to motivate them. It don't fucking matter. Okay, it don't matter. If your game plan is shit, it don't matter how you.
Right.
He tried.
You lack a solid plan.
Right.
There's no motivational speech that overcomes that.
And it's the same with Harbaugh. He gave them this Chuck Noll thing, which was really cool. But if their plan sucked, again, then it doesn't matter. In general, you got to have a really good plan here. It don't matter what hoorah stuff you try to give these. I appreciate it. I respect it, and it's I don't blame them for trying to do something different. They both try to do something different. I respect that.
But if we, Dave, if we believe that nothing's going to change and that the whole same coaching staff is going to be back, why the hell would we believe the plan is going to be any different?
Oh, well, no, I'm talking about currently with the game plan for the game that just happened. In general, yeah, Bob. I mean, shit. Right now, I don't.
What bugged me is Tomlin kept saying, "We're familiar. These teams are familiar. We know who they are. We know what they do. We're familiar." So, in beating that drum all week on Hard Knocks, why the hell does he change the game plan, like you guys said, and then do something different and screw up? If you know who the Ravens are and you've beaten them, why the sudden change in the game plan? It doesn't make any sense.
To me,
why not abandon that as soon as this stops working and go back to the old game plan? I
assumed that they felt like what they did against the Ravens the last time didn't work, right? So they made adjustments to that, but to me it looked like the adjustment was not doing anything. I don't know, it was bad. I mean, Cam admitted that guys were, missing their gaps. They were, not doing the right things on the field. There was mistakes made. You know what I mean? He said he would absolutely not say that there was anybody out there that he saw or heard that was playing with less than 100% heart. He said, I don't agree with that. He said, that isn't the situation. He said, now, doesn't mean there weren't mistakes. There wasn't things that went wrong. And he said, but I don't think it's because people didn't care.
Maybe somebody should show him that Dante Jackson play on the second.
But I mean, how do you measure heart in something? Do you know what I mean? It looks like effort. If it, you know what I mean? If it doesn't look like effort, I don't know. I mean,
Well,
people have bad games.
Yeah, I try to stay away from calling players having no heart unless it's really, really.
And then same, because this is their job.
It's hard.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They put a lot of effort into this. So and maybe it's not their best performance. Somebody has to lose in every game. You know what I mean? Somebody's got to lose.
I want to credit Matt Williamson for the deep dive he did on his podcast on DK Sports, because he really exposed what the issue was on defense. I have it right here. The Ravens used a 6 offensive linemen 22.2% of the time. Often their fullback, 300-pound Patrick Ricard, was out there. And we stayed in nickel for most of the game with our small defensive backs and got mauled. Like,
someone send that tape to Art and write glaring weak something on it and make him open it, some tie him to a chair, because to me that's inexcusable. Inexcusable. Staying in nickel against the Ravens, all teams.
Yeah. It's what I've seen from Tomlin time and time again. Tomlin is trying to outsmart himself. Tomlin's second guessing ever, and it's happened the entire season. And I'm going to say something that I didn't think I was going to say, considering how much I praised it when it happened. The worst thing that happened this season is that Russell Wilson succeeded after Mike Tomlin went to him. Because that empowered Mike Tomlin to say, if I do these weird things that no one else is expecting, it's going to work out. And I genuinely feel that because there were so many things throughout the year.
Where would the season have been better if Justin Fields had failed in those last 4 games? Like, how would that leave us in a better position right now?
I think Russell Wilson has time to grow. This is the end of Russell Wilson's career. Justin Fields has time to progress out. I would say, it's unfortunate, but that we saw progress and we weren't expecting a big year from second Russell Wilson went and expectations grew. And that changed.
Justin Fields can actually overcome the passing things that he does that aren't good, because to listen to you guys, Russell Wilson has done these same things all this time and never overcame them in his 13 seasons. Some of the issues reading the middle of the field. Obviously you can't do anything about your height, but so if that's the case, then do you think Justin Fields can overcome his issues?
Wilson threw the ball over the middle of the field in Chicago. I think that may be a function of the Steelers' offense, but
Fields.
Fields threw it in Chicago. Fields can overcome some of his issues. The biggest issue for Justin Fields, as far as I'm concerned, is touch. He reminds me. Relax with when I say this name. He reminds me of John Elway in the fact that there's only one way to throw the ball, 400 miles an hour. If he learned anything to take a little bit off the ball, it's fine. Look, bottom line is the offensive line is going to, if Pat Meyer comes back, is going to be just as bad. So at this point with Fields, we were winning time of possession. He completed higher percentage of his passes than Russell Wilson did.
But scored less points by 10.
Not really.
Per game.
Not really, because the offense the last 5 games, they didn't put a lot of points.
The average on the breakdown chart is 20 point something to 30 point something.
I don't know.
Because
at the end of the season, it may have evened it out more. But before that, though, it was way less.
Yeah, let's think about the last 5 weeks.
Just without looking at it, I remember earlier they were putting up more points, but now that they were struggling.
Oh yeah, the last 5 games have been worse than Canada run.
Evened it out more, I'm guessing.
And I think it comes down to an inability to escape pressure, and that's where it's not as much the passing. Justin Fields' passing probably would have struggled a bit, but he would have made up for a lot with his legs. The ability to make up for a lack of edge guys being able to block for him, and that's what Russell Wilson couldn't do. And considering that, we'll get to this whenever we talk about Mike Tomlin's presser, but considering Mike Tomlin's obsession with mobile quarterbacks, I am
strange.
now just remarkably surprised that we made the switch when we did. because with the blocking issues we had down the stretch, Justin Fields may not have won the games for us. I don't know if we got embarrassed the way we did.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
bear in mind with Russell Wilson, he scored 37 against the Jets and 44 against the Bengals. You take those two games away, it really starts to look ugly. And you take the last month of the season, I mean, 14, 13, 17, 10, 17, 14. Meh. I know. He can't get out of town fast enough. Wear that Steelers gear in retirement. Good luck in your job at your TV job, Russell. You need to go.
I don't
Right. So
think
let's
he's
shift
going to
a
retire.
little bit and talk about like some of the news that popped up in the past couple of days, rumors that we've been hearing, as well as some of the things that Tomlin brought up in his press conference. I think those things kind of all go, together because some of them overlap. And Relic brought up this rumor that Russ and that's kind of broken this week that Russell Wilson and Arthur Smith were not getting along, and that kind of got leaked out there to the media that there was issues between the two of them. What do you guys make of that?
I
Sounds. Go ahead, guys. I'm suspicious. Could that be Arthur Smith's agent throwing something out there just before his interviews? Like, that stank's not on me. I didn't want this quarterback. I'm better than this.
Yeah, it makes you wonder. It
It's
does.
the first place my mind goes when I hear stuff like that.
Guy to help him out with that.
Well, I mean, we knew that Tomlin said, I'm the Lone Ranger and going to Russell Wilson, right?
Yeah, he did say that.
So that probably caused some things because that's letting Wilson know, hey, Arthur Smith didn't want me to be the starting quarterback.
Well, there were rumors that there was people in the franchise that were unhappy, and whoever said it now, I can't remember. It might have been Brooke Pryor, that it wasn't just players. So that could be Arthur
It was
Smith.
a ton of the coaching staff.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, they were like, no. And it's just like we said, because of the O-line struggles with a quarterback that holds on the ball longer than anybody, and he's only 5'3". Like, yeah, probably not going to go well. But eventually, but at first it looked amazing, and then finally it snowballed. So.
Yeah, because as soon as people caught on to, I'm either going to throw it deep or I'm going to check it down. That's it. That's all he's got in his bag. Look, at one time, was he a good quarterback? And I think I heard, might have been Pompiani making this point. Look, when he was younger and he could scramble around in the check down and let guys get deep and then chuck it down the field, yeah, that was great. But bottom line is he's 5'10". He's not he's not as mobile as he was. And he can't run around and make plays anymore. Yep. Look, here's the other thing I would say too. And we heard this going in, and I think we all forgot it. I'm guilty too that oh my God, we're scoring all these points. It's great. But let's look back at his career. What player came out with even half the passion that DJ Moore had for Justin Fields, saying it was a mistake to get rid of Justin Fields? Who's ever said, a player, that it was a mistake to move on from Russell Wilson?
In season.
Even postseason.
Well, I mean, in season, he said that while he's still with that team. It was like, wow,
oh, yeah.
Okay. Like, that's interesting to say that while in the season with your team you're currently with. Like, I was just like, oh, okay, wow.
Yeah, we all got our hopes up that Chicago was going to trade DJ Moore.
Look, I'm just hoping that Fields learned. He learned some things from Russell Wilson or Arthur Smith or whoever. I'm hoping he learned some things, and now if they bring him back, we reap the benefits of it. That's the hope. But if not, then maybe we get a high draft pick. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, I'm convinced if he gets a job, if he gets a head coaching job, I guarantee you Justin Fields is going with him.
I'll bookmark that because I was very surprised about that. That would surprise me more than most things. Because number one, Arthur Smith, take every job. They're all wonderful. They're all better for you, better for your family. Enjoy and take any job you want. Best for the Steelers. But
Relic's trying to provoke me again.
Look, more than Russell Wilson, I think the success of the Steelers season is directly linked to how Dan Moore and Broderick Jones played. That stretch where Dan Moore suddenly played well and Broderick Jones found it again we were okay. The second they dropped off, we were bad again. It's just
that's a good point.
Follow how they were, and so
is.
and that's what. Yet again, I'm going to be a broken record. That's why Justin Fields was better. I understand it. It's hindsight is 2020. I really, really get that. But from inside that, there had to be some kind of denial looking at the offensive line, saying, "No, this is exactly what we need to get down the stretch," rather than saying, "Russell Wilson probably won't be protected the way we need to. Justin, this is yours now." Don't understand that.
Ben talked about that offensive line on his podcast this week and said that, he really felt that Russ was hindered by like having to run for his life, quite a bit. And he feels very strongly that in year 2, Zach Frazier is going to have to step up and become the de facto leader of this offensive line. He thinks the kid has it in him. He thinks he's got that potential. He thinks that line needs somebody. They always need somebody to be that leader. He also gave Mason McCormick a lot of praise and, just kind of talked about, like Broderick Jones' mistakes. Do you know what I mean? Like you just can't make the mistakes that he was making over and over again.
Yeah, until Ben starts criticizing Dan Moore, I don't want to hear Ben the offensive line. But he helped him off the ground one time when he got sacked.
He said that all the criticism of Pat Meyer isn't fair because he said some of the things that were going wrong were Broderick not doing what he was supposed to do. That play they ran into each other. He said that wasn't a bad call on the offensive line coach. That was Broderick not picking up the linebacker that he was supposed to pick up.
That was insane. They were showing that one a lot.
This is only
defend Pat Meyer, defend Dan Moore. Hey, let Ben go stand out there.
He wouldn't be defending him, I guarantee you.
Yeah, he wouldn't be defending very long.
He'd be pointing a finger.
Behind shitty offensive lines during his career.
He did. He did, for sure.
And he didn't blame them.
No, but he's not the team's quarterback anymore. He can say whatever he wants now.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he has easy right to his opinion as much as anybody. I mean, really. I just want to say I'm not as high on Justin Fields as you guys. He's okay he's a stopgap for a year, but you guys are expecting something more than we've already seen. I mean, the kid's going to be 26 now.
I'm not saying I'm hoping. I'm hoping to get more out of him. Am I expecting it? I don't know. I mean,
I don't even have the hope, to be honest.
Here's my problem with the whole Justin Fields thing is they kept him in this box and didn't let him make any pre-snap moves. They didn't let him do any plays in the playbook he wasn't allowed to do. He only had so many plays he was allowed to do. And they would wait till it was too late in the Colts game and the Cowboys game, if I remember correctly, to let him just go out there and sling it and do whatever he had to do. When they did that, my man was putting up 2 or 3 touchdowns, whether it be rushing or throwing. It's like, man, what do we have here if you just let this kid be himself and you don't limit him with the play call? That's my problem. They didn't let us properly. Well, they didn't properly get a realistic look at
whether we
Fields.
like it or not. They are going to, if the money works out, they are going to bring Russell Wilson back because Mike Tomlin is going to believe that this offensive line is going to be better in 2025 with Faltanu back. Broderick Jones will have another year. They'll replace whoever with somebody better. I don't know that you're getting somebody better than James Daniels, but you replace Daniels or replace Moore with somebody better. So this line's going to be better. They'll get a weapon for him, and he's going to believe that. That's going to be what he believes, and I think Wilson will be back. I think that's their goal. So unless the money doesn't work out, I think Wilson's back, whether we like it or not.
So, Leanne, do you think like his comments in the press conference about mobility matters and stuff like that? Do you think that he was talking?
Didn't matter this year.
He thinks that Russell Wilson.
Yeah, he wasn't letting Fields be mobile.
Well, no. What I'm asking is that. So if you think it's going to be Wilson, when Tomlin makes that comment, are you saying that he's thinking that Russell Wilson has enough mobility to still be the starter? Do you think that's
Tomlin says what people want to hear? Because
some people are analyzing it as, he's talking about Fields. So
yeah, but he could have played Field this year and he didn't.
So
that's the point. He's talking about having a mobile quarterback. He had one. You didn't play him. You replaced him.
Some people think
it doesn't make any sense.
Referring to Fields because that's who they're planning on probably going with now.
You didn't even bench Fields when we were down 21-0 at the half in a
I know.
What do you always call it? Single elimination tournament or whatever.
Oh, you mean
you didn't even bench him for Fields then, right?
Yeah.
You left Wilson
right.
in. I mean,
which again was just insane. I not let that kid go out there.
I think people listen to what he says and they try to make it fit what they want it to fit. And I think you have to look at Tomlin and his history, and the narrative is that they don't like change. It doesn't matter whether we like it or not. That's just my opinion on what I think is going to happen.
No,
the only bright spot is if we bring Russell Wilson back in 2026, we'll be calling Arch Manning's name.
Yeah, maybe that's the plan. He's a bridge quarterback. My concern is this 2 more years of pick 22 or whatever.
Bridge to nowhere.
Actually, that leads me right.
Najee won't be back around for that, hopefully. So we'll have to pick somebody else.
What do you guys say to Vaughn? If it's not Fields, then who? So if it's not Fields, you don't want Wilson, then who?
Well, let me give you the top of the free agent class.
Move Aaron Rodgers out of the discussion.
Sam Darnold. Anybody want him after this week?
No. I didn't want
Zach Wilson. Maybe he brings his mom to town. Trey Lance. Jacoby Brissett. Marcus Mariota. Drew Lock.
You left a name out.
Who? Taylor Heineke? Jacoby Brissett?
No.
He's not a free agent yet.
No, he will be.
I know where you're going.
I think Dave's trying to circle back to Aaron Rodgers.
Absolutely.
At this point, if it's Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson, yeah, I'm Aaron Rodgers. But I want Justin Fields over both of them. Because even if he sucks, and I don't think he will, I think the offense will at least be exciting to watch him run around. He won't do 30-30 like Jameis, but it'll either be really good or really bad. Look, bottom line is, if you live through the Cordell Stewart years, we could put up with Justin Fields for a year.
Yeah.
They have to say that, Relic, because he's not a free agent yet. Of course they can't say they have interest in Aaron Rodgers.
Right. What do you think about this? Steeler Nation 412 says, Fields with a Ravens-type offense. Run pass heavy would be great. Fields was 5-1 as a starter, 5 touchdowns.
They can't run the ball.
And with a better quarterback completion than Russ, and Fields was still benched. Here's my
Fields
question
in the
about
Arthur Smith offense.
I was just going to say, can Arthur Smith run a Ravens-type offense? I don't think that's what he's ever shown in the past.
I think if he just ran the Arthur Smith actual offense from Tennessee and Atlanta versus the bullshit we saw this year, then yeah, I would kind of like to see Fields.
We were supposed to be that this fucking year. It was one of the worst in the league yet.
That's all we talked about during the offseason was all the great shit he did with Derrick Henry in Tennessee, and we didn't.
He's been living off that reputation for years now.
Or some head coach told him, nah, you can't run those plays.
Yeah, I thought that too, Bob. But then I saw, I think it was John Ledger, who put out some of his advanced stats from his running since he left Tennessee. It's pretty bad. It was pretty bad in Atlanta. It was awful this year. I think he's been living off that reputation with since Tennessee, and I don't think he's that guy. I think he just had exceptional personnel in Tennessee. I think he's being exposed. I really do.
I don't know that Tannehill was exceptional personnel, but
I'm talking about the running back and the wide receivers and all the other stuff. Their line was really good.
Cast was very good.
And Tannehill was a mobile quarterback that helped.
One thing about Tannehill that a lot of people did not understand that I personally love is he was the quintessential game manager. He was coachable. He was willing to play a role. He didn't need the ego, and he did exactly what was asked. That's a Brock Purdy. That is a Ryan Tannehill. Yeah. That is a Jeff Garcia. That is the guys that are consistently in the NFL and play for successcul teams a lot. I love that about Tannehill.
You would have, and that's the other thing. They don't have the right personnel either. Like Freiermuth can't block or is not willing as much as we'd like him to be. Right? You've got little.
Hey, he goes the extra third of a yard for his team.
You've got little Calvin Austin the third.
Not when he catches the ball.
Van Jefferson.
Well, he needed a half a yard. He goes a third.
Yeah, the offensive line's not there yet either. They're a couple years away.
The line's not there yet either. Exactly.
So we all saw the ridiculous comment from Colin Cowherd today about trading the whole team away to move up in the draft to get Shedeur Sanders, which goes hand in hand with Relic's comment that the only move there is one that no one wants: trade up in the draft to get a quarterback, go all in on him, and hope we either develop them or be bad enough to get a high pick next year. Maybe I'm misunderstanding Relic. I assumed he meant this year, but maybe he means get that high draft pick next year. Because do any of us really want Shedeur Sanders?
No, 100% no. 100%
no. I wouldn't say 100% no. If we could get him, yes. But he is not getting past Las Vegas. Right. You would have to trade ahead of the Raiders to get Shedeur Sanders.
And we are.
He's not a surefire. He's not a surefire guy.
A lot of
I've
guys
seen.
are saying he's not.
No,
gonna be.
no.
Yeah, I've
but
seen scouts that
he's
have a
good.
3rd round grade on him.
Yeah, there's guys saying
I disagree with a 3rd round grade.
right, but there's tons of people saying that.
Who's he
not
get for
exactly
beating?
a 1st round pick. There's a lot
Colorado
of people
beat.
No,
Go ahead, Dave. I'm sorry.
no, I'm just basically just agreeing with you that there's a lot of people out there saying no. That a lot of scouts do not have him as a 1st round grade. They do not.
The only reason that the Steelers need to take a quarterback in the 1st round is if we are a quarterback away from being there, and we are not a quarterback away. We need
You're
other.
always a
Like
quarterback away.
not with these wide receivers. If we don't get another wide receiver, I don't care what quarterback comes in. They're
I'll
not going
give
to be
you an
able to
example
throw.
in the division. Joe Burrow.
He's got Chase and Higgins.
Yeah, they
And
drafted
he-
Chase the next year, right?
He's got all kinds of.
I mean,
Anybody think those guys would be any good without Joe Burrow?
Chase is amazing.
Yeah.
How'd they look?
Chase
How'd
would
they
be
look
amazing.
with Jake
T.
Browning
Higgins would
last
be
year?
very good.
Jake Browning had a couple games where he put up 400 yards.
Yeah, he had a couple games.
No,
Like I'm just saying, they had a couple games where he won and he put up like 400 yards. And I believe correctly, they faced the Steelers and they did bad, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So I'm not quite there. With
It's not that
just the
those guys
quarterback.
aren't good players, but I don't care who your receiver is. If you throw out a shitty quarterback, it won't matter.
I mean,
Doesn't
yeah,
matter how
quarterback's most
talented they
important.
are.
I think, of course, quarterback's the most important position. But if you take a quarterback and you surround him with 4 Stronachs, I don't think it's going to go well.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
That's why the best case scenario is, to me at least, Justin Fields and then do everything else. Because it's either Justin Fields or we're going to reach for someone. We're going to try and find someone we don't need or pay for someone we don't want or bring in 2 random people and do it. Justin Fields and then check quarterback position off, but everything else after that. I want them to do that so badly, and I'm genuinely worried we're not going
No,
to.
I'm
And thank
right
you,
there
Steeler
with
Nation.
you.
That was a nice thing.
I'm right there with you. I want Fields and give him some weapons and let's see what he can do.
There you go. Let's have
that's
some
the
fun.
way.
I think it's
That sounds
the
fun,
option
right?
that makes the most sense.
It's the best case scenario for this year, anyway.
Yeah.
And we'll see after that.
Yeah. So what else, you guys? What else from Tomlin's press conference? What stuck out to you in the things he had to say this week?
How about how he didn't know that George Pickens was late to the game?
Yeah. That's.
I mean,
Yeah,
was
might as well
anyone
get into the George
surprised by
Pickens
that?
stuff.
Doesn't he always say stuff like that? He always says he doesn't know.
He had a general look of surprise on that. Either he's getting better at acting, or he might not have known. I don't know if I totally believe it, but he really did look surprised when and for once, short of words, which you never see Tomlin, but he kind of was stumbling, trying to come up with something. So
Or in shock.
I don't know, it was odd.
Would have been nice if there had been would have been nice if there was a follow-up saying, okay, so Mike, you're telling us that you filled out the inactives and you just assumed George Pickens was in the building?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you could have definitely followed up with some questions.
What do we do with George Pickens? Because the decisions now, they have to. Bob's brought it up before. He's not going to play on his last year of his contract. They need to make a decision. They're going to either trade him or sign him. And signing that kid long term is scary business, man.
I don't know. I don't know what you can get for him at this point.
That's the other thing. His value is. You guys are going to be shocked if he does get traded. It's not going to be for a lot. It's not going to be for a lot.
They're saying
last year of his deal, issues off the field. You're not going to get a first round pick for him.
It's not.
And
the sad thing
it was Christmas. Really.
What did he say?
I mean,
he said he cared about Pickens being late. It was Christmas.
Yeah.
He made the game. It was 30
come
minutes.
on.
Boo-hoo.
It's
Needed
just
to
an
try with
important
that
game
one.
against
What about the
the
52 other guys that showed up on time?
Hey, as long as he shows up, we're happy, right?
hey, what? Bottom
He
line
won
is
an
though,
award for that game, right? Or was that the next game?
if he misses, let's say something, God forbid, had happened to him, he was active. He wasn't in the building, which means they were in touch with him. They knew he was fucking running late. I mean, we get that. But bottom line is, who cares if he was late? Yeah, he's your best player. You got to put up with it. But at this point, how you let that get out, first of all, I'm kind of pissed at the reporter who knew this because you knew it on Christmas Day. Why the fuck did you wait till the season was over to bring it up?
Yeah, waited. Hey, that's a good call by Greg. Was that?
Yeah, he said it was the last question, so they wouldn't have asked for
It
another.
was.
I don't remember,
It
but I
was.
think it was the last
Okay.
question.
That's
It
Did
was
we
the last
know
question.
for sure that he was really late? Like, how do we know for sure he was really late?
Multiple reports. It's not
Someone
just.
said, they said they saw him. But did the team comment on it? Because
No.
we don't know. There's no context, because I know there's times when players have got caught in traffic along the way, or they forget something. Late happens, and I don't, not knowing any context is kind of a weird. I don't have a story at the moment. Off-season thing. It could be something, but it could not. And without context, I legitimately
Well, I
don't
think
know
if it's
either way.
Pickens, it's going to become something. Do you know what I mean? He could have gotten a flat tire. He could have broken down. He could have had an emergency.
Well,
Maybe he had explosive diarrhea like Lamar did.
in response to Relic, this isn't the problem. This isn't the first time there's been reports that he's been late.
Yeah, it came out after that he's been late frequently, right?
Yeah, like this is why I told you guys I'm done with the guy. Like I just
I'm starting to slide to your side, Dave.
Like, come on, man. You're late to games. You're a psycho on the sidelines. You're a psycho in the locker room. You're all over the place, man. Like,
okay,
so you're wrong. I get it. I get the frustration, but holy shit. Like, there's other things besides being mad about not getting the ball. There's also fighting a guy in the first line of stands in a game, doing that too. Like, there's just too much craziness for me with this kid. There just is.
You're okay rolling with Skoranek as wide receiver 1 next year?
No, no, of course not. No. You go throw some money at somebody. You try to get Higgins or whoever. You try to get whoever you can get, top wide receiver that's available, and you draft one and go from there. Don't get me wrong. I said this to you guys in the text thread. Does it give me some pause to be like, man, if you had Pickens and say Higgins and a draft pick, yeah, that sounds really good. Right.
Now
if you thought the quarterback list was bad, listen to these gems for the wide receiver.
Yeah, it's bad too.
Is it bad?
Old man Stephon Diggs, Keenan Allen,
Hell no.
who's possibly older, Amari Cooper, Chris Godwin, who ain't leaving Baker. And then we got like Deontay Johnson, who's the 8th ranked free agent wide receiver. I think about that. How bad is the wide receiver free agent list that Deontay Johnson is a top 10 free agent?
Yeah.
With Godwin, do you think they'll give him a big payday when they already gave a big payday to Mike Williams and Baker got his big payday? Like,
You mean Evans? Yeah.
I'm sorry, Evans. Sorry. Yep.
Yeah.
I
I think you have to, because he's the young guy.
Yeah, but isn't he over 32?
He's 29.
29, yeah.
My problem with bringing Pickens back actually relates directly to something Mike Tomlin said, because if you bring Pickens back, you're going to have to be reeling him in, have to be coaching him, all that kind of stuff. And I understand that Mike Tomlin doesn't like talking to the media and says certain things, but he was asked about his messaging and a question about, is your message getting across? And his response was, I don't worry about messages resonating. I know what works and what doesn't. That is the worst possible response. You don't care about your message resonating. You're supposed to be the player's coach. If you don't want to answer the question, don't answer the question. But
he was off his game in this press conference.
Yeah.
He was faster.
If I look at my notes, the 2 words that pop up the most are concerning and tone deaf. Because that's concerning to me, because I'm like, okay, we have to be ultra sure about red flag players, because before it was we could bring players with some issues in, might be able to get something out, and then they're gone before it gets too bad. Now, I don't know if he can control anybody if the messaging doesn't matter.
Well, go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, I was candidly. By the way, I don't know if anybody caught this, Mike Florio's appearance this week on the PM team. He said you should always say candidly instead of honestly, because if you say honestly, it means everything you said before was a lie. So, candidly, if I'm the Steelers at this point, I'm looking at this wide receiver room, and since Hines Ward, every single number 1 receiver has degenerated into diva, and we got to run them out of town. Every single one. This is a culture.
Did they degenerate into diva though, or did they arrive as divas and get more diva-fied?
Yeah.
I think at this point,
yeah.
I think
turn Heinz Ward into a diva.
I love that word, divified. This is awesome.
If it's one, it's probably the other guy. If it's two, maybe. When it's 8, come on.
I sent Dave a tweet. I don't know if you guys saw it.
Divas all over the place.
I sent Dave the tweet somebody had. I wish I could give them their name to give them credit. But they said, at this point, if I'm a wide receiver and I'm drafted by the Steelers, I stop and think, wow, I'm an asshole.
Yes, I thought.
Because every quarterback, wide receiver they have drafted in the last 10 years is an asshole. So the next one that gets drafted is got to sit back and say,
in the league.
Oh,
Steelers
wait a minute.
who really wants to know if you guys would make a trade for Garrett Wilson.
Yes.
yeah, 100%. They're
I would
not going
love
to trade him,
to.
though.
I don't
What
think
would
the
you
Jets
trade
would do
for
it,
Garrett
but
Wilson?
yes.
Oh.
What would you trade? Because I mean,
What
I
would it
might
take?
trade like Arthur Smith
Arthur
for
Smith.
him. What would you
Yeah.
trade?
Arthur, just
They're
take
going to want a
Arthur.
first
You
and
got
something.
Garrett
I'm
Wilson.
dead serious. I would trade a first. I would absolutely trade a first for Garrett.
They're going to want
Wilson,
more than that, I think.
assuming he signs a contract.
They're going to want a first and something,
Yeah.
I would imagine.
They can have Pickens.
I do straight up. Well, they wouldn't do straight up.
Boy, I would love to see Pickens in New York.
They wouldn't do that.
Oh, could you
Pickens
imagine?
comes back next year. Who's a reasonable wide receiver too that you think that the Steelers could potentially bring in with what we know right now?
They're going to have to wait and see if somebody shakes out.
Yeah,
Like
I mean,
Brandon
all
Ayuk or something like that.
They'll have
Because
to wait.
Bob did the list. It's terrible.
They surely won't recycle Deontay Johnson, right? Please
No
tell me.
way. No
They're
chance.
I just
Steelers.
can't see
They're
that
gonna wait
happen.
till cuts happen or
How-
something with them.
How much
Maybe
do
the
you
kid-
think
the-
it matters about
For
how
twos.
we handle the quarterback position? Because I know the players get a say sometimes on where to go or all that. If we decide to run it back with Russell Wilson, we don't change a thing about the coaching staff, then what? It's going to be the same thing as free agency. What wide receiver is going to want to come here?
Well, if you make
That-
Justin
that's
Fields
why-
a quarterback, then maybe you go get DJ Moore. Maybe you could talk the
Who?
Bears into trading DJ Moore
You
Try.
could get
because
fancy.
he's not happy there clearly. So
Did Watson tear his ACL recently? Did he tear his ACL?
he
Yeah,
did something
he
to his knee.
So
Yeah.
that'd be tough. I don't know.
He's
if
a
I'd
guy I
say it.
really lobbied.
Yeah, I liked
when I
him.
did draft profiles. I
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
thought we should have picked him a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I liked him, but ACL tear? Ugh, I don't know.
I mean, I know we'll do the draft later on, but I hope we go. I don't know how many wide receivers we can actually take in. I hope we just stack them. I want
They need
a
two
couple wide
minimum.
receivers.
That's,
Just
that's a bad
7 wide
idea.
receivers.
Genuine, like all the to make up for the ones you didn't take, because I understand it's one of the biggest needs, and cornerback considering the numbers we saw in Dante Jackson and
Cornerback is a big need.
Quarterback, defensive line, wide receiver, and running back. Those are.
Yeah.
I mean, but please, dear God, wait till the 4th round to pick a running back.
Yeah.
Please.
My man ATN from Georgia would be a really nice get in this.
I like him.
Yeah.
Him.
What round's he projected to go though? Right now.
4th.
Okay. And that shit changes a lot too. Like
Yeah.
January
That's
projections,
how he
so
runs.
April
Yeah.
projections.
Actually-
So
John, speaking of this,
Yeah, do you guys think that this would help? I don't, but do you think it would help?
apparently
If
it's
they were
gonna
like
start.
chanting to fire Tomlin at like the Penguins games and stuff?
I don't know if he's here.
Hasn't
Kevin
worked with
Adams
Bob
is-
Nutting.
hey, you saw what
Adams
old boy from
buy
the
a
Still
bull-
Here podcast is going to do, right?
Yeah, he's going to buy
Yeah,
billboards.
billboards,
Yeah,
yeah.
we're on the same page. Yeah, Kevin Adams wants to buy billboards about fire Tomlin and for Rooney to sell the team. Yeah,
Okay.
Guy's
They-
a knucklehead. Nobody
They
listens to
can
him.
miss me with the Rooney sell the team thing.
they-
Look, I'm highly critical of Art, but there's another Rooney waiting in the wings.
Well,
if
There's always
Dees is
another
bad,
one.
maybe.
Well,
I don't want the
It-
team
They
sold.
triggered my Pirates PTSD because the Pirates, it's sell the team, Bob. There's literally a
Right.
group going.
Oh no, I
after
agree.
him
And Bob
in
Nutting's
billboards.
terrible. I
Yeah.
agree with
And
that.
I'm just
awful.
like, oh my god, I can't handle 2 sell the teams in one go in Pittsburgh. This is not. No, I'm not going there, man. Take it easy. Jeez.
I mean, let's give the next Rooney a chance.
Yeah.
You know,
I agree.
Can I ask you guys an honest question? I brought this up to Dave before. Is the difference between Bob Nutting and the Rooneys just NFL TV money?
The difference
Because-
between Bob Nutting and the Rooneys is that
If you put Rooney-
baseball works so differently than football, and he is a cheap fucker. I
Yeah,
mean,
but
that's-
the Rooney's not exactly
no, but
known
they're-
for
but they're-
spending. Like, if they own the Pirates, would they be any different? I don't think they would be.
But in baseball, if you're willing to overspend, you can have something different, right? In football, if you're going to overspend, maybe you have nicer facilities or a jet or some
Right.
shit. But you can't get more players. You can't stack your team with every best player in the NFL by buying them all. Or
That's the thing.
I don't know.
Like the thing is, one has a salary cap, one doesn't. Two, the stuff that the Pirates do spend money on is the stuff the Steelers don't spend money on. PNC Park is looked at as a good, gorgeous park, and they pay to put all these updates on it, right?
Yeah.
The Steelers don't do shit with Extra Stadium. And
That's what I mean. He doesn't spend,
Pirates, they put most of their money into international prospects or just, it used to be we put the money into the draft more, as far as prospects goes. But with the Steelers, I mean, they spend almost all the way up to the cap. So as far as
because they have to,
they do spend to the cap though, Dave. There's a difference. The
Because
Pirates
they have
don't
to
spend
spend to
money
the
on
cap.
players, and the Steelers do. Who said they?
I'm not convinced.
Whoa, who said the Steelers have to? They don't have.
They have to spend up to 80% of the cap, or they get penalized, or the floor, or something like that. There's a certain amount of money they have to spend every year.
But they only save $5 to $10 mil in case they need something. That's
that's on the cap. But there's different things like cash and cap and all that.
If you gave the Pirates a salary cap, they would stay $100 million below it.
I agree with that.
Maybe.
Like, there's no doubt in my mind. I mean, I've watched it. Like I see it, every year.
As long as baseball isn't equal, do you know what I mean? Isn't managed equally among teams, it's never going to be fair. You're always going to have teams.
Yeah, no, I agree with that part.
Do more.
I
think that's where we get screwed. I mean, and Nutting is willing to do nothing.
The Rooney's.
I can see the Rooney's hiring some great manager in baseball, and then not spending a dime.
Yeah.
Just tell him, figure it out.
Now the one place I'd like the Rooney's to actually spend, if you are actually on the fire Tomlin train, which I want you to know, I don't think it's going to happen. Then that's like $48 million. Ask them to spend that, because that's how much it costs to fire Tomlin. They have to pay out I think it's $38 to $48 million to do that. That's where you have to spend their money.
There's another evidence of what I'm talking about. Why do you think they have that policy? Because they don't want to spend extra money on coaches. Why do you think they have the smallest coaching staff in football? Because they don't want to spend money.
That I agree with you on, like, when it comes to personnel, like coaches and stuff like that. There's a reason why we have 23 when the 49ers have 44 or whatever. Like that kind of stuff, I see what you're saying. But as far as strictly players, like spending money on the team itself, no. There's a distinct difference between Bob Nutting and Rooney's.
I don't think so. There's a distinct difference in how much money they get in, too.
It's not even close, Dave. It's not even close.
Yeah, somebody brought up in the chat, it was Relic, that 2 hours ago, CBS News states George Pickens is on the trade block. All I can find is people saying that he should be traded. I don't see any actual, like, from a credible news source that says.
If you have a link, Relic, you can.
He is, yeah. So I'm not seeing that, but I mean, I believe him, and maybe they're covering what one of the other like local reporters has said or what somebody else has said, because there's been so much talk about him being fired, being traded, but I don't see it. So, guys, let's talk a little bit about these free agents. Before the show ends today, I want to talk a little bit about what you guys think about what we've got. We've got just an outrageous number of free agents this season. What is it, like 24 or something?
I think I counted 24
on the active roster. Yeah, 16 being unrestricted and 2 exclusive rights and 1 restricted. So we kind of talked already about Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. Kyle Allen is also a free agent. Do you guys feel like we need to touch on them anymore right now? I think we can
bring back Kyle Allen.
Yeah, right.
I
think, are we all kind of in agreement that Najee Harris probably won't be back in Pittsburgh in 2025? Nope. Does anybody think he'll be back?
Hope he enjoys his tenure as a Raider with Max Crosby.
Yep, I think that's where he's going to go. He's going to go
Most
West
likely go. But until it happens,
Relic said he sent you the tweet on Twitter.
Battle against it mentally. If my soul will until it happens, I'm going to hope it doesn't. That a miracle happens.
He's going in because he wants to go, not because they don't want him back. They might want him back, but I don't see him wanting to come back.
I would mentally prepare yourself, Zach, for the worst.
Yeah.
I have been. I have been for a little while because the Steelers, in order to keep him now, would have to pay a premium to make up for the 5th-year thing, and they're not going to do that. If the time to do that, no matter how much Tomlin compliments him, no matter about the he's going somewhere else, and it breaks my heart.
Jalen
So,
Warren is
can't
going to
talk
be
about
a
it.
restricted free agent where they can match the offer, and because they didn't play him as much, he's going to be cheaper. It's just the smart move. They're going to go.
They better bring someone else in because Jalen Warren works as a tandem. You make Jalen Warren a bell cow, he is going to fail. I'm just saying,
are
not mess
going
with what he
to
is.
draft one probably, hopefully, in like the 5th round or something.
But you can't. I think that a lot of the fans that
I
really
think you're
that
forgetting that Cordarrelle Patterson is still on the team.
that think that Jalen Warren can step up and be like the number one running back. I think they're really mistaken. Like I just don't think he's that guy. Do you know what I mean? And so I think we have to get somebody else. And however you split that up, whether we do a 50-50 thing again, but I just don't see him as that guy.
Well, it's better to have a couple. Like we've seen how running back by
of course
now. So I think they'll draft somebody to be his number, his 1-2 punch or whatever. I think that's what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And also, we saw it with Najee and Jalen. The problem is if you just simply compare the two side by side, snapshot, no context, nothing else, Jalen looks like the more electric, the more consistent, the more productive. But if you look at the scheme that we were running, the predictability that we had, every time Najee was back, they're like, oh, the Steelers are going to run. Jalen is back there. They're like, we're not. I've said it the entire time. So you need Jalen with someone else to balance it out, and that's what makes Jalen productive. And it was really unfortunate that they seemed to get away from that this season.
I think Jalen was most productive because he was partnered with Harris. So I think, if it was just him, it'd be a rude awakening for people.
It's another knock on Arthur Smith, the way that they were used.
Yeah, incorrectly. I've said it about Najee Harris. He was used incorrectly with Cannon. He was used incorrectly with Smith.
Yeah, hey, just Relic, that's the DiArdo article. That's a rumor. He thinks not he is.
Okay, I was going to say
no one would know for sure anyway.
Definitively.
Yeah.
On what? What are we talking about? What?
George Pickens
trade.
Oh, yeah.
All right. What about our esteemed wide receiving crew of Van Jefferson and Mike Williams? I know it's hard. It's a tough.
I'm going to sit this one out. I'm going to sit this one out. You guys know my response to this one.
Go ahead, Bob. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I love Starkey's line this morning when they were going through these guys, and he said Van Jefferson. He's like, no, Bob Papinetti said it. Yes, sign him to a 10-year contract for $500,000. They can pay him per catch.
Yeah.
Mike Williams, they traded a 5th-round pick and targeted him 13 times.
I was going to say, could you even say with any real certainty whether you want Mike Williams back or not? I mean, I don't feel like we saw him do enough.
He's running as far away from them as possible. Van Jefferson, he might come back like, hey, these guys like me. They play me. This is awesome.
There's a legit question whether any of those two plus Scotty Miller are even in the league next year. That's how bad they were as a group. They could all be out of the league next year.
Somebody give Mike Williams.
Mike Williams will be in the league. Mike will be in the league.
Former first-round pick.
He's going to make a final 52 when the rosters are set in September.
Yeah, Mike Williams was a victim, as far as I'm concerned.
For two teams,
dude,
the same story.
Yeah, as a top
targets,
5,
he had double the yards.
Maybe he's not getting open. Maybe he stinks, Dave. Maybe he stinks.
His whole career has been 50-50 balls. Hey, somebody give him a chance. I mean, he'll make.
Yeah, that runs out when you're 30-something years old. I mean, eventually,
you don't
those
think
50-50 balls
number 5
younger than you think,
team, Dave?
He could be. He might not be.
Come on, get out of here.
I could see him getting signed. All right, we're not going to waste a lot
We'll
of time.
bookmark this and we'll go back to it.
Bring back Skoranek, our new number 1 for David.
All right, what about guards? James Daniels and Nate Herbig.
I pass on both of them.
Yeah, because our plan was to move on from Daniels anyway, right?
But a chance to keep the brothers together, we got to do it. We got to do it.
Oh, the brothers.
I love Nate Herbig. Like
I like him too, but
I like him.
But he's hurt all the time.
He's hurt too much.
He's
not even a reliable backup. He can't even stay healthy in that role.
Yeah.
If they can get him really, really super cheap, I don't have a problem with Herbig coming back.
Yeah, if he came back really cheap.
Yeah.
Which he doesn't have to.
Daniels.
He's got no tape.
The plan was never bring him back.
No.
Right. I was going to say that's kind of been the talk all year.
That writing was on the wall a long time ago.
Yeah. All right. Everybody but Bob's allowed to answer. What about Dan Moore Jr.?
I think I'm going to sit this one out too because
No.
I watched too much Dan Moore the last 3 weeks. I'm not.
Happy to
Led
move on.
the
Happy to move
league
on.
in sacks given up after having a good first 6 games or whatever.
Right. So I mean,
Like-
that means you really sucked ass the last
Yeah,
half of
like
the
you
year
were really
to
bad.
make up.
So no, he's.
I wrote it today. He was on the way to making himself some serious money
He was.
because serviceable tackles get paid. But these last 5 weeks, he's just killed
I'm trying to
himself.
remember what game was it started his downfall. You guys, Bob, you probably remember which game
The
was
day
the first
Russell Wilson became the starter.
Game? Ooh.
Yeah, it probably started around there. You're right.
Was it
But
the Jets game? I think
this
it's the
losing
Jets game,
streak
right?
is what really started killing
I
him.
thought it was later than that, but not by much.
The Jets or the Giants game, right? Was his first game with Russell Wilson, if I remember correctly?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was the Jets game.
Yeah.
But I mean, bottom line is when the quarterback is standing back there, free runners come
good
running
point.
at him.
Gets exposed.
Justin Fields saved them a lot
Yeah.
of times.
He did. Yep.
Yeah.
I
Whereas
don't
Russell
disagree.
Wilson just stood there and said, "Is that guy going to tackle me? Oh yeah, he's going to tackle me. Maybe I should throw the ball. No.
Anybody
That's
have any
a deal.
interest in bringing Isaiah Loudermilk back? Maybe really
No.
cheap?
No.
He had to stand.
Otherwise,
This was his prove it year, and he didn't prove much.
Yeah, and
No.
I thought he had a prove it year and it wasn't there. All right, how about linebackers? Landon Roberts and old Dirty Red Tyler Matakavich.
Yes.
Dirty
I
Red
want
for special
Roberts back.
teams.
I'm fine with either. I'm fine with either coming back.
Me too.
Landon Roberts loves the Steelers, and I think Tomlin loves him. So I could see it happening.
I actually do not want him back, and I'll tell you why. Not because I don't like him, because it's too much of a temptation for Tomlin to play him. You got to
that's a good
put
point.
Queen and Wilson on the field and let him go. If Holt
I don't-
comes back,
I don't disagree there. That is the one thing I didn't like was how much they used him on passing downs. It was ridiculous. It was like, what are you doing? Like,
and if he's
so
on the team, he's going to be on the field.
from that perspective, Bob, yeah, I get that. I really do. Because I didn't
Well, it was
understand that either.
But also, Landon Roberts exposed our inability to adjust as a defensive scheme because they constantly schemed Landon Roberts into coverage. They're like, hey, look, Orlando's out there. They're not going to change a thing. Run that way. And they just, I guarantee they had hot routes ready for Landon Roberts wherever he is.
You know what?
He wouldn't switch out of it.
If it's not a Landon Roberts, it's another guy that's a run specialist that's
Right.
going to be exposed because they got to bring another one in. So either way,
Yeah.
we're screwed on that.
I kind of want to see Mark Robinson fill that role.
Yeah. He's as bad in coverage as
I was gonna
Landon
say,
Roberts, if not worse.
He's really
Yeah,
bad
they
in
really
coverage.
won't be tempted to put Robinson on the field on passing downs.
Robertson's really good on special teams, if I believe. That's why Matakavich, I wouldn't mind if they did bring Big Red back.
They'll probably
He
bring
may
back
be
Keith
the
back.
biggest hitter on the team, to be honest with you.
Oh yeah, Robinson.
the problem
Robinson?
Yeah.
Robinson, yes.
Yeah, he's a monster when he hits.
Oh,
All right, what about Dante Jackson and Cameron Sutton? I would like to punt Cameron Sutton into the sun personally. I hope to never see him again. And I don't
He's
say
another
that
one that will.
often. I usually gracefully let guys go. I'm pissed.
Yeah,
Pissed at
He's
we
another one
found
to be in the
him
league.
for all the bullshit, took all the bullshit for what he did, and listened to all that, waited and waited and waited for him to play, and then he sucked.
Yeah.
It was awful.
I mean, really bad.
Which was
It's
always the
just
On the
plan.
field.
you can also talk about their downfall once he started taking over as the starting nickel corner too. Because I'm just saying that was really bad when they made that switch to him and stayed with him. Like, man,
That's a
was
Tomlin move. Sutton was going to save the season. They just had to get through halfway.
Yep.
He saved it all right.
He's going to be there just
about
in time for the hard games.
my only
Dante
thing.
Jackson,
And Dave,
though, I'm torn on.
I know Dave hates Dante Jackson. My only
With a
thing
passion.
is that he dealt with a pinched nerve in his back, the latter part, really bad. Healthy.
They got to
That's the
upgrade
thing.
that, Dave. They got to
I-
upgrade that. They got to get somebody better.
Don't think I don't want them to upgrade. I
They have to.
absolutely want them to upgrade.
have to.
But what I like
I
him as
mean, at
another
some point,
guy
you
to
have to
have.
say, where do
on
you
the
bring
price,
somebody
though.
back and where do you upgrade, right? Because you can't fill all these holes. I mean, there's so many holes.
For me, Leanne,
Again,
on the
this
price,
is you're
how
not
much does
losing.
he want?
So
Like,
far,
I'm not paying him a lot of money. That's the
we haven't
Yeah,
discussed
give me
one
Dante
person that's
Jackson
not
as my nickel
replaceable.
corner. I'll be really happy.
Agreed.
I don't even want him as a nickel corner. It's time to go.
Oh, no,
He's not good. He's not good at football. He's not. He's a number 4 corner at best.
Oh, so you'd rather have James Pierre?
No, I said you got to upgrade. You have to upgrade.
I
You got to
say
draft
After getting
someone.
rid of James Pierre and
And you
Cam
gotta set-
Sutton, you got to
they're
keep
gonna have-
somebody.
They're going to have $80 million in salary cap space. They got to spend. We're going to put you
I would
guys.
like to see them draft one to go with Joey. That's what I would like to see.
Draft
if you
one.
can
They gotta
bring
do
one
both.
in, if
They have to do
there's
both.
a free agent out there that's a good, free agent, okay.
There's got to be a
Absolutely.
dozen free agents better than Dante Jackson.
And
There has
look,
to be.
if they would draft one and sign one that's
They
better
have
than
to.
Jackson, that's fine with me too. I could go either route.
We can't watch the secondary again.
With
We
Dante
can't.
Jackson, it depends on the money for me. Like if they get him on the cheap and they add more people besides him, great. I'm fine with that.
Okay, but one thing you have to remember is good cornerbacks cost money. A lot.
Yeah, you got to spend somewhere, Bob. We can't keep
Yeah, we
spending money on inside linebackers.
They
It's
don't have
ridiculous.
unlimited funds.
Got to go
They
spend it on
spend-
the premium positions. I'm so fucking fed up with this. Cornerbacks cost money. No shit. Spend money on positions that count.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Instead
we're
of
going to
these
spend more
linebackers.
money on defense?
You're gonna have to. I hate to say it, but you're gonna
We're
have
gonna
to.
have to spend some.
Did you not see that defense against the Ravens?
Yeah,
You don't think they need money?
I
I
get what
strip it
Bob's
down,
trying
go
to
with
say.
all young guys, and spend the money on the offense.
I get what that's what I was gonna say. I get what he's trying to say. They need to spend more money on the offense.
Yeah,
but
I agree with that.
They do need to go.
I agree with that
They
too.
do need to go get a corner via free agency or the draft or something because after what we just saw, that was bad.
Yeah.
A big problem that I keep
Von
looking at
Ravel.
though.
Yes.
If the coaching
Maybe they
doesn't-
draft
if the
him. That's
coaches
fine.
don't-
What's that, Zach?
If the coaches don't change, to me, all of this is moot. I don't
mean,
care what players
Zach, I
they're
can't
bringing.
argue
I
with
don't
you.
care who
Well,
they
we
sign.
say that
It-
to John's point about their inability to keep up with modern schemes is the problem. The Steelers are playing 90s ball and athleticism just can't win the day anymore. Do you guys
No.
agree
Yeah,
with
they're
that?
the only
Yeah.
they're the only team in the league spending the bulk of their free agent money on inside linebackers. The only team in football that'll do that.
Yes,
and
It's
that was the
beyond.
last one.
Didn't they spend $170 million on defense or something like that? $1
Yeah.
million.
130.
Course, yep. It's a lot. And the thing is, at the end of the season, it would have been, our offense let us down. But hey, our defense was atrocious down the stretch.
Yeah.
That money is badly spent, and so the fact that I don't think enough is going to change in the coaching staff to make a difference is what makes me worried about the players that we're going to bring in, because we have to have so much talent that the coaches can't impact.
That's why they drafted defense in the first round for like 6 straight years, I think, because they were trying to prop Mike Tomlin up year after year after year with first round picks to try to make the defense. And they got to that point at one point when Ben got hurt, right? That defense was elite especially when they added Minka. There was a Pro Bowler on every position.
They haven't picked a defensive player in the first round since Devin Bush.
Yeah, I was going to say it's been since Devin Bush because the past 4 picks have
Well,
been
that was a disaster.
Gee, I
offense,
wonder why.
and we
I
missed
was about to
one.
say, I wonder why they haven't drafted
That was a disaster.
this guy. Good
Yeah.
Lord.
All right, what about DeMonte KZ? He's the last of the unrestricted free agents.
That's a big no.
For cheap,
It's a hard no
he
for
could be
me.
useful.
I'm not
Like,
impressed
really
with him,
cheap?
so
I want to see Corey Trice move to safety.
They might
I
move
wanna
that kid that they drafted in the 7th round of safety too.
oh yeah, Watson.
He went
Yeah,
on
the kid
IR.
from Texas.
Oh,
I
yeah.
didn't think
Watts,
much
I
of him
think is
coming
his
out.
name.
Brian Watts, yeah.
He'd be better than Casey. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
fine.
My
I
wife's
think
speaking on the
Trice
chat
has
again.
a chance to be a really good safety.
Trace is brittle. I don't know if I want him hitting people for a living. I'd rather him.
Hitting
Covering.
people's not the problem. It's his, soft tissue and all that other stuff.
And a knee, yeah.
Yeah.
I see him as a cheap
Two
Kyle Hamilton.
the Brights guys, Ryan McCollum and Jeremiah Moon. And then Jalen.
Ryan
They
McCollum
could go.
actually did. Ryan McCollum actually filled in pretty well for Frazier, didn't he? I'm pretty sure he did pretty well. at
Yeah,
center.
that's true.
He's a serviceable
Yeah, he
backup.
wasn't bad.
If he's
So was
cheap,
Moon.
I don't think it hurts.
Special teamer.
I don't think it hurts.
Yep.
Yeah,
keep
he's
both.
the right amount of money.
Moon's
Yep,
another
that's
special
important.
teamer. Those guys are going to be cheap if they bring him back.
League minimum. for
So
sure.
it's whatever. But McCollum did good. He did good.
He did.
in a replacement for Frazier.
And
Yeah.
shout out to my wife for sneaking into the chat again.
Oh, hi, honey.
Maybe it's
honey.
resting. So I'm glad.
All right, guys.
Jalen.
Anything
definitely
else
brings-
before we shift over to legendary picks?
I think that's it.
Obviously, we're going to have a lot more to say about this in coming weeks.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Yeah.
going to be a lot of talk. Obviously, news is going to
Anyone but Justin? Did I see
anyone
that?
but Justin. Get owned,
Wow.
kid.
Wow.
Hey, get on, kid is on the Aaron Rodgers train.
Look, dude, Bob
Whether
is
you
way
are or
too
not.
old to be calling him kid.
Now, there's one thing from Mike Tomlin's
you
press
let
conference.
Art Manning on the team with his current players and coaching staff. Oh my God. I'm telling you, my mother couldn't stand it. Have I told you this? She lives in Austin. She calls like every week to talk to the family about just how cute he is and how much he likes him and why weren't they playing him more. We hear it every week.
I want Arch Manning. Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
The one thing I would
this coach staff.
Yeah, the one thing I would say to John is if we get Arch Manning, I would bet a lot of money this coaching staff isn't employed.
Yeah, I think a lot of things would change if we were doing that.
Yeah. Wait. That's whenever the whole changing of the thing has been rumored to happen, right?
Right. I mean, that's 2 years from now.
So you might be right, Bob. That might be when the whole thing is different. So
yeah.
Relics passing Dave a note under the table. Bring back Van Jefferson. Circle yes or no, Dave.
I don't even have to answer that, buddy. I don't even have to ansser that.
At this point,
but unfortunately, next year,
Mike Tomlin's press conference that there was so much to touch on, but I can only touch on so much. Mike Tomlin was specifically asked, based on the fans and the media questioning whether he was the right man for the job, are you the right man for the job? Straight up refused to give an answer. That right there is where I expect the confident Tomlin to come out and say, of course I'm the right man. For the fact that he brushed it off, there was like 9 different versions of Tomlin in this, and I don't think he really knew if he was coming or going during half of it because my notes are all over the place. It's like I took notes from like different games and put them together. I'm genuinely concerned about the way he decided to respond, the lack of responses, the ones that he decided to really go into. The entire thing really rubbed me the wrong way. So I don't know if
that was there's going to be change on different levels too.
We're
5 days into this, haven't seen a fucking thing change. So
he also said we haven't been doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. I yelled at my phone, "Yes, you are."
Yeah.
Yeah,
wasn't it Brooke Pryor? Didn't Brooke Pryor try to tweak him again by asking him about the trade? Wasn't that her?
Yeah.
And he's like, "Save your time." I'm starting to like her more and more every day. The more she tweaks him, the more I like her.
Because she's fearless. She'll say whatever. She don't give a shit.
Look, all right, guys, I'm going to sign off and let you guys handle legendary picks. To everybody that was here tonight joining us, I definitely appreciate you. I know the guys did too. Everybody have a good night.
See you later, man.
See you.
Yeah. All right, so we can move on to the pick segment.
Let's
just to let everybody know how we did last week in the wild card round.
We don't
all
have to
those
do that,
games
Bob.
we get to pick.
Dude,
Bob, we don't have to do
I
that.
started off 0-2 and thought I was going to go 0-6. I was like, this is bad.
I knew I did bad.
Season, I think you guys can still catch me.
This has been a bad year for me for picks. Bad.
Maybe if I would have remembered every week, there might be a chance.
All right, let's get to it. We're going to start out with the Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs are hosting the Houston Texans. They're giving the Texans 8.5 points now. Who wants to start this out? Dave, you start us out.
Yeah, I'll go with it. Mixon's got an injury. It's his ankle. They need every help they're going to get going against that Chiefs defense. And if he's hurt and not healthy, I think they're basically cooked. Alshire for them's hurt on defense as well, which hurts when you're trying to take down Pacheco and them. So I think the Chiefs actually do cover.
Zach, what do you think?
I really want to take the Texans. There's something that's making me think that it's there because I believed in them last week, and it worked out. And I genuinely think there's a little more fight in this team than I'm expecting. But I remember the last time the Texans played the Chiefs, they jumped out to a big lead, and then the Chiefs scored like 50 points on them straight. So I can see them hanging around for about 3 quarters, maybe into the 4th, but the Chiefs are going to win this one. I just don't know if they'll cover, but I'll take the Chiefs to win at least. So.
Bob,
Yeah,
what do you got?
I like the Chiefs in a walk. I love the Texans coming out, blowing up last week, knocking out the Chargers. I thought there were some suspect things on the Chargers. The only suspect thing about the Chiefs is what size all those rings are going to be to fit around those fat heads when they win 3 in a row. Yeah, the Chiefs are gonna blow them out. I don't have any doubt they cover.
I underestimated the Texans last week, and I paid for it. But I
Me
just
too.
don't see them doing it this week. I just don't see them doing it. I think it's going to be a very miserable. Well, I'll get to my other pick, but the Chiefs are going to win this game. And they just are.
Well, really, really quick, because I saw he asked twice, so I want to make sure we got to it. We are going to do mock drafts. We just not going to do them soon. Probably closer that we get to the draft, you're going to start seeing us doing them. I just didn't want you to think that we were ignoring your question. I saw you put it up twice.
We did it last year. Me and Dave did it last year. We did mock drafts. Trust me.
Oh yeah.
I'm an addict when it comes to the draft. So yes, we will be doing live mock drafts.
Yeah, until the season ends, if you follow my Twitter account, I'll be doing one mock draft a week. But once the season actually ends, Super Bowl's over, you can virtually every day.
All right. I do them as well, in case anybody's wondering. Saturday night, the Detroit Lions are hosting the Washington Commanders. They're also given 8.5. This one's probably the game of the week as far as exciting offensive football goes. That's something we don't get to see around here much. So who wants to go first? I'll go first this time. I don't see anybody beating the Lions. Maybe the Commanders cover the spread, but I'm gonna stick with the Lions. I think they have just enough defense to pull this one out, and they'll pull away late. Lions by like 10.
Dude, Monty and Terry and Arnold are both back for the Lions. Dude, that place is going to be going bananas. It's going to be tough for a rookie quarterback. Even though I'm very impressed with Daniels. Like he's very impressed. Like it's awesome. But man, it's going to be really tough. So I'm going to take the Lions to cover.
Yeah, I said last week Jaden Daniels is special, and I still believe that.
He is.
The Lions are having one of those magic seasons.
Mm-hmm.
I think Daniels will play very well. I don't see it being a 3/4 game. I see it being probably decent at the half, where maybe the Commanders are down 7-10. They can't score with the Lions. And nobody playing this, I can't see it. I see the Lions probably winning this game by 17, maybe 20 points.
And for everyone saying
Daniels won't play bad, but they can't keep up with him.
For everyone saying, look at the past, the Lions have collapsed and all that. This is the Lions team that has earned this. They have won early and then they lost, and they had to learn how to win again. And Dan Campbell knows how to build this team, and the coaching staff. This is one of those teams that has that scent of destiny on it. I genuinely feel that about this Lions team. So I don't. Yeah. I agree. I don't know if anyone can beat this Lions team. Genuinely impressed with this.
Yeah, I'm not going that far, but I will say this: they're at least going to return to the NFC Championship.
Yeah, I think so too.
They're going to Super Bowl. I'm convinced of it at this point. That takes us to Sunday afternoon. The Philadelphia Eagles are hosting the Los Angeles Rams. They give the Rams 6 points. The Rams shocked the shit out of me last week, so I don't know what to do with this game. Zach, you go first this time. You tell us.
Told
what
you
do you
guys that he had that in. I tried to tell you guys he had that injury.
You did.
The Rams are sneaky interesting. I think you actually said something when we were in the green room or whatever before the show that weather was going to play a large part in this. And I think as long as the weather holds up, then the Rams will be able to keep pace. This weather gets all Philly and weird, then the Rams are probably going to be up against a wall. I think the Eagles are going to win this game, but depending on the weather is how close the Rams keep it.
For me, Higbee, limited participant in practice. Witherspoon for them didn't practice at all. So that kind of hurts to me for the Rams. But it is McVay, so it's like one of those things. With the spread being 6, I'm going to go ahead and take Philly to cover. I can see them winning by a touchdown, maybe 10. It's at Philly, not easy. So,
Bob, what do you got?
Forecast is for snow.
Yeah, there you go.
A lot of good that did last week for the Steelers against the Ravens, but the forecast is for snow. Rams coming off a short week. 1 o'clock game on the East Coast. Rams defense is really, really good. They're one of the best defenses in the NFL over the second half of the season. I don't see it. I think Philly's roster is way too deep. That defense is way too good. Rams will score some points because Sean McVay is good, but they ain't playing the Vikings this week. They're playing the Eagles, and Saquon Barkley is going to toast them. So yeah, I like the Eagles in this game.
Yeah, I'm taking the Eagles too. The Eagles Lions NFC Championship game seems inevitable at this point, right? It's going to happen. Yeah. I think the Eagles do it convincingly.
Jack, do you think the Rams and the points?
No.
Okay.
I took the Eagles.
No, Zach.
Oh.
Well, no, I took the Eagles.
Okay.
To cover?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And to wrap it up, the Buffalo Bills are hosting the Baltimore Ravens. They're 1.5-point underdogs at home.
To be Smooth Jimmy's lock of the week.
Ooh, that's a big lock, all right. But
I get it. They lost 35-10 when they played them earlier in the season. But I'm sorry, this is the AFC playoffs, and a home dog Buffalo Bills, who probably had a realistic chance to be the 1 seed, who didn't lose to the Raiders, who didn't lose to the Steelers. Yeah, I love this game. I'm all over this for the Bills.
My lock is the Eagles, by the way. I forgot to hit the button.
To be Smooth Jimmy's lock of the week.
ooh,
Bob, I'm right there with you. I'm going with the Bills, lock of the week, the whole 9 yards. Zay Flowers is still not going to play, it looks like. Unlike the Steelers, Buffalo's going to scheme to stop Lamar and stop King Henry. I think they are. That 35-10 beating they took, they're going to want to definitely be up for this game to get some payback for that. Also, at this time, it's in Buffalo with Bills Mafia, everybody going insane. It's a whole different environment being up there compared to being back on your home field. So, yeah, I think Buffalo is going to win this.
Zach, what do you think?
I agree. I did not think that I was going to be sharing a lock of the week with a couple other people, but this is the one I was going to pick for that. There's just something about Josh Allen and what he can will this team to do, and that he has a team around him that is much better than the ones he's had before, regardless of Diggs or not. So I think Bills and Lions are what we're going to end up seeing.
Fellas, I think you're letting your emotions from the beating last week cloud your judgment. The Ravens are too good. They're too complete a team. They're better than the Bills. They're going to stop the Bills, just like they stopped the Steelers this week.
I want to see Lamar Jackson sacked 12 times.
It's not going to happen. The Bills' defense is meh at best. They're going to do the same things they did to Pittsburgh. I'm telling you. We're going to have a miserable AFC Championship game watching the Chiefs and Ravens and not know who the fuck to root against.
This is a drastically different team that the Ravens are facing to the Steelers. Like, you do understand.
Yes.
Like,
yes, offensively it is. Defensively,
and this is not from the confines of M&T Bank Stadium. This is up there, Bills Mafia going fucking bananas as well.
They won it badly.
Don't get me wrong. I think it'll be close, but I think Buffalo didn't Buffalo beat the Lions? Didn't they put up 48 points against the Lions? Yeah,
but again, the Lions defense compared to the Ravens defense, it's not the same.
Yeah, but that secondary is not that great. The Ravens secondary is not that good. They just look great against the Steelers because
they've been better the second half of the season since they moved that kid to safety. Back to safety. They've been very good.
They were still ranked 31st in the league in passing yards given up. I'm not completely there with you. That they improved a little bit, yeah. But like, you're taking on Josh Allen. There's a big difference here. I think it's a close game, but I still see the Bills winning by. I'm going to say winning by like 6-7 points.
What do we expect different from the last time these teams met and the Ravens ran them off the field? Except it's a different. Now they're in Buffalo. Okay. Give them 7 more points. They lose by 28 instead of 35.
I don't time, and they know what they're going to do. When they don't have Zay Flowers, that's the thing. They know what they're going to do.
I mean, I hope you're right, but I
see what September 29th is when that game was played, though.
early in the season.
Well, the same
A
team.
lot of things have changed since then.
Yeah, the Ravens are playing better, much better than they were in September.
They're both
Don't
playing
think the
really
Bills
well.
are?
I mean, they're both playing really well.
The Bills have been playing good all season. Yeah, I'm sure they're both
Yeah.
playing better now, but
3 of the 4 Ravens losses are away games too. So I mean, if there's anything to analyze out of this, they're more, they lose more away. So I just
Bottom line
Allen's
is, if you
amazing.
don't want Kansas City to win, you better be rooting for Buffalo.
I
Because
think the
Ravens,
Ravens
I
should
just
the
be
don't want
Ravens
the
are
Ravens
not
to win.
going to Arrowhead and winning. It's not happening.
I just don't want the Ravens.
Hey, Dave, we can go
Whoever
about this
beats
2
them.
ways. You could be going off of what they did to the Steelers as well as why
Yeah,
they'll
probably.
beat
Yeah.
So,
I admit
I
it.
mean, we have to remember
Yeah.
we have an incompetent team going up against the Ravens compared to the Bills. Let's just be
To me,
honest.
How the
I mean,
turns have tabled.
How many games have the Ravens won in a row now? Like 5 or 6? They seem to be playing the best football to me
No,
in the
I
league.
don't disagree. The Ravens are doing really well, but
As
this
good
is-
as.
this
Maybe
is
not
better
the best.
than the
but
Lions?
this is not.
I was going to say, as good as. Yeah, well, the Lions' defense has kind of let them down the last few weeks. They played better last week, but
Yeah.
One of the top 3 teams in the league anyway, the Ravens. Probably
I
top
don't
2.
I don't disagree. I just
And they're so
there's
balanced.
a really big difference between the Bills and the Steelers. That's
Oh, 100%. You won't get an argument from me.
Yeah.
100%. Defensively, I don't think there is, though.
how much do you
I think you make the
Ravens
argument
win
the Steelers are better on defense.
by? How much do you think the Ravens win by?
Double digits.
You
14?
think the Ravens win by double
Yes.
digits?
You guys are not
Okay.
watching these games? They steamroll everybody? The week before that, the Texans needed a playoff game, a win for seeding, and the Ravens blew them out at their own place. You guys not watching these games?
Ravens are going to beat the Bills by double
Yes.
digits in
Yes.
Buffalo.
Not that surprised.
You betting Davy dollars on this?
Might be. I might be.
That's a no. You're full of shit.
I haven't decided yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
What is the Bills?
Elton-
I should have looked this up before. What does the Bills run defense rank? I don't honestly know. I
I
think
know
it's
the facts.
bottom half. What is it?
I might have that.
17th? Yeah, they're not very good.
Yeah,
And they're going up against the best run team in football. And you guys think and the Chiefs, I mean the Ravens beat them 35-7 the last time they played?
35-10. 35-10.
35-10. And you're acting like this is a shock. I think they won by double digits. They won by 25 the last time.
The Steelers
Yeah,
weren't.
but-
I
At
trust
Home
the
field's what?
Buffalo
3 points
Bills.
either way?
at Ravens, I don't know if anybody was hurt. Like I don't know how to analyze that
I don't
game
either.
to make it matter this time.
I
I
don't
just
either.
know that the Bills at home are pretty fucking tough. So I think it's going to be a good game, but I still think the Bills.
And don't forget, that Bills game that they beat the Lions, they had a big lead and they almost lost. They can't hold a lead to save their lives.
I'll say this: Vegas agrees with you to a point because it's an away game and they're still favoring the Ravens.
Yeah,
But
I'm
again,
telling you.
they face an incompetent coached Steelers team. There's a huge difference. Huge difference.
Well,
And at
actually, again, a lot of people have compared the Bills coach to the Steelers coach. It's Tomlin and him are very, very similar.
Some
Defensive
of the in-game
coches
decisions he does
who are
I
very
don't disagree.
unimaginative,
I don't disagree with that. But
are terrible at
I
in-game
think-
calls.
I don't think he holds everyone hostage that they have to do what he wants them to do.
That
It ain't
that may
like
be
he's
different.
facing
So-
Andy Reid, though. I mean, the Baltimore John Harbaugh ain't exactly a genius.
Yeah, well, he looked like a genius last week.
And I mean,
Excuse me.
look, Henry ran for
Again,
200 yards.
The Steelers
against
are
Buffalo.
not.
Yeah, but my point is, and I don't want to belabor this too long, but what's to stop him from running for 200 yards against the Bills? It's not like the Bills have this defense.
I don't.
Because I
don't
guarantee
disagree.
you, if they go heavy, the Bills are not going to play nickel.
Yeah, let's hope.
Well, that's my point, Bob. My point is they're not idiots and going to go, oh, we'll just keep as many small guys out there in the second. They're not going to do that. They're going to watch the tape of what they did to the Steelers and be like, yeah, we're not idiots. We're not going to do that.
Yeah.
That's
Plus-
what I look at.
Plus, I mean,
Did they
let's
play
face
nickel
it,
when they
the
lost
Bills got
35-10?
Josh Allen running
I have no
around
idea. That's a good question, actually.
on the other side. So, yeah, this is going to be. I feel like this is going to be a fairly high-scoring game. I don't see the Ravens slowing the Bills down. I see the Bills maybe slowing the Ravens down a little bit. The Ravens will beat themselves. I have every confidence that if it's snowing, they will, and Nose Flowers, that John Harbaugh will throw the ball 68 times.
I think there was a time when he did that, but I think he's finally learned that he's going to ride those two guys to a Super Bowl into the ground.
Oh, I hope not. Oh, I hope not.
I hope not too. Believe me, I hope not too.
Bottom line is, I hate to say this, I don't care who wins.
I'm rooting for Buffalo.
It's a three-peat.
I just don't think they're going to do it. Buffalo's the only team I could stand left in the playoffs.
I'm looking at the game. It was Henry. He had 199 yards rushing, and Hill.
That guy's unfucking stoppable.
Here's what's kind of crazy is Hill had 78 yards receiving.
Yeah.
So their two running backs were the whole show, which is crazy. Likely had 26 yards. Bateman 23. Flowers only had 10. Where's Andrews? Andrews had 0.
Does anybody think either one of these two geniuses is going to go march into Kansas City and outcoach Andy Reid? Because I don't.
No.
Yeah, that's a whole nother thing.
Well, Harbaugh might not have to because they could do the same.
Yeah,
they could do it to anybody. Just because they did it to the Steelers this week, they could run like that on anybody.
All right,
they could do it to anybody.
I could see saying the Ravens win by a touchdown, but to say double digits at the Bills, I can't go there.
Okay.
If it was in Baltimore, yeah, I may lean more your way, but not at Bills. There's no way.
Well, we'll know in a week, so when we revisit this,
All
we'll
right.
know for
We'll know
sure.
in 2 days.
Anybody got anything else before we get out of here? Dave, I felt like there was something else you wanted to say to me about the whole Nutting versus the Rooneys when you got cut off. Anything else that you wanted to say about? You look like you're ready to jump one more time, and then
there's a couple times I wanted to say something and couldn't. So I'm trying to remember, but by now it's gone. I don't remember any.
I did send you a link. Did you check the link?
I didn't look at
the Steelers were 31st in actual cash spending in 2023, and they're 20th this year.
What are they counting? Like what are they?
What cash spending is? What the real money is going out the door. That's signing bonuses. That's all kind of bonuses and contracts combined, not just salary cap. That's all cash spending.
And
if you look it up, the Steelers are
coaching and all that too, or no?
No, this is for the players.
So
this is just players.
Huh.
Hey,
They are traditionally in the bottom third of the league in cash spending.
Not to spin off into another spiral about Tomlin, but he's the third highest paid coach in the league.
Yeah,
anybody think that's money well spent?
He's a top 5 coach, right? Would you say top 5?
I'd say bottom 10.
Putting this last couple performances aside,
I don't know what to think, honestly.
He's won a playoff game 4 out of 18 years. 8 years in a row without winning a playoff game.
I can't argue.
He's won 1 division in 6 years. It's the worst stretch of Steeler football since the 80s, and I'll tell you right now, the 80s were better. We're approaching 1960s level.
I would say 80s are better, Bob.
Somebody even said in the 80s they were making AFC championship games.
They did.
They
did. They thought the highest scoring AFC championship game in history was Malone versus Marino.
Wow.
They made one, and that was kind of fluky. If we're being honest, Bob, that was a little fluky. They made
you
only have to win one game to get the AFC championship.
I was a little baby, so
Frank Pollard beat Denver. Yeah. It was awesome.
Yeah, you only have to win one game to get the AFC champion. So right there, it's different than it is now.
But let's face it, they were. We only played 5 playoff games in the 80s, and we only made the playoffs 3 times. But we were 2-3, and we went to an AFC championship game.
Yeah.
This is 10 years without a playoff win.
Hey, Dave, I'll put it this way. The difference between Rooney and Nutting is since the 70s, the Steelers have still went to the Super Bowl at least 4 times, 1, 2. The Pirates, they haven't done anything. They have not won a single thing. Like, nothing. Like, so, the only difference, the main thing that lets me think and know that the Rooneys are different is, wild card, yeah. But
I mean, they won a spot in the wild card. They lost.
I mean, when I say Rooney's, I mean this Rooney. This Rooney,
this
not
Rooney
all the Roonies before him. I mean this.
I mean, I'd have to look at it deeper. I'd have to look at that thing you sent me too. But like, just going off of success and everything else, the Roonies compared to the Nutting is just night and day. But I don't know. I'd have to look at what you're talking about, to be honest.
Say what you want, but Art the second, they weren't the heart and soul. They're not the Steeler way. Dan Rooney was the Steeler way. When Art promoted Dan and let him start running the team, that's when things changed. When Dan stepped down, that's when things changed.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the timeline of it,
yeah,
it's hard to argue with.
And I think Art just wants to coast on Tomlin's coattails. Let Tomlin keep me at 9-7 forever, and I don't have to spend any money. I don't have to take any risk.
And
I'll just sit back here and do nothing.
That's the thing, guys. They there's always butts in those seats, so they're still making their
That's
money.
what I'm talking about. That's why they don't want to get rid of Tomlin.
They're not,
because as long as they're 9-7,
right,
you won't have any empty seats.
You would have to have empty seats, people not going to the games for them to be like,
Yep.
oh no, we're not making money. We need to do something. But dude, I was at that game on Christmas. We never sat down. People stood the whole game because we're crazy. Like they're too big to fail. Like that's literally it. Like they know us crazy Steeler fans are going to show up these games and they're going to make their money. So as long as they're winning, that's all fucking matters. That's all that matters.
All right, guys, I think we should wrap it now. We're at an hour 30. Thanks everybody in the chat for joining us again. We got a great group of people that join us every week. We appreciate the new people that came in today too. Don't forget to subscribe to both the podcast and the Steelers Sanctuary YouTube page. Don't forget our merch is right over Bob's shoulder there. If you want to check out some merch.
Scan the QR code.
And what am I missing? That's it. Thanks. Until next time, thanks for listening to the Steelers Sanctuary Podcast.
See you guys Monday.
Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it.
Wait for it.
Motherfucker! You volument! Motherfucker! That is it!
That's it. What the fuck you talking about? That's it. Take it back, Danny.
Yeah. No more. No, not tonight.